Okay, let's get started. Alright, so thank you so much for joining me tonight. And if you're joining me later, watching the replay, welcome. So tonight we're doing a monochromatic face, which is where we use one color and then whites and darks to bring the lights and shadows. I'm using one of my favorite colors, phthalo blue. And some white. And if I need to make some shadows, I'm going to use a dark brown, because that will turn the blue to a gray color. I may or may not need that. We'll see. Okay, I've got some documents here. These are my face in 20 step guide so we can get the basic shape. This is typically what I do when I start out. It's a recipe to build it up. I've got one with the eyes closed and the eyes open. And then I have one about where the shading is on the face. And I'm going to try and put these documents in the comments below at the end of this, or somewhere in our group. I think I can add documents to our group and we can see it that way. Alright, so that being said, let's get started. I'll keep these nearby. I don't know if you can hear the stomping upstairs. My son's having his supper, so he's for some reason stomping around. Okay. I don't always start with a sketch on my canvas, but I'm going to right now, just so you can see the process of the face. I'll use this charcoal pencil so that you can see it a bit better on the camera. All right, I might move over, but I'm not sure if you can see this in your screen. There we go. All right, so I start with the curve of the face. We're not going for perfection here, we're just getting an image out. Here's our chin, and back up. We can always change the shape of it with the paint. There we go. And the head is actually egg-shaped, and it comes quite a bit up higher. So I'm just putting that there because the hair will cover all that. Then let's see, if I was trying to do a little bit of proportions, you would have your X down the middle here, and then your eyes are about halfway down your face, because right here is the very top of your head. Okay, your forehead's probably about here, and then you would, or your hairline's probably about here, and then it would come down your eyes, and eyebrows would be here. So eyes are halfway down your face, nose is about halfway there, and then we have our lips, which are halfway between that. That means I'm going to bring her chin up a little more. There we go. All right, if I'm going to be able to see the ears, they're going to come where the nose is, bottom of the nose, and up towards the eyes. For the eyes, if they're closed, you can make the lids like this. And in between, you have space for another eye. Okay. If you are finding that your face starts to look a little wonky, check your eyes. The space is there. So there's usually enough room in between our eyes for another eye of the same size. So check if they're too far apart or too close. Okay, so that's if your eyes are closed. Our eyebrows would be about here. Again, you don't have to draw this face on. Usually I just go right to the paint, but I want you to see sort of the building structure of the face here. Alright, so I want eyes open for mine. So I'm going to add a circle here and add that top lid. That one's a little high. I'm going to bring it down a bit. Now the trick, one trick with eyes is if you put the whole pupil in, they can start to look a little scared. So I usually cover up the top half of the of the iris and the pupil, and it touches the bottom lid. And then I know my pupil will be about there. This will all be covered up with paint. There we go. Just putting in the rough sketch. Welcome, thanks for joining. I see some viewers out there. Can't see your names right now, just because of the way my camera is, but thank you for tuning in. Then our nose comes down here. I'm going to put a hint of it in. There's a shadow here. We have our nostrils depending on the angle of the face. And then we have the crease around our nose. It's going to look a little funny right now because our nose is mostly shadow. There's not a lot of hard lines there. Then in an M shape, so coming down from your nostrils would be those two lines, and we have our little M shape there, a dip in our lip, up, down, even like a little seagull. And then it's like a stretchy M. There's top lip, bottom lip. Now I'm going kind of fast. Remember, you can take your time. You can always watch this again later. And I'm going to put these documents right here on the chat somewhere so that you have them as a guide. And there's the bottom lip. I'm not going to put it all the way in because I don't want to box it in. Let's see, I know that right here is going to be a highlight, so if I look over here, I want to leave enough room to have some highlight here. There's going to be shadow here. I'm just going to fix her chin up a little bit. There it is. And her neck right here. I might not even be able to see it with her hair, but there it is. Like this. And her forehead's here. Let's see. I'm going to give her some flowing hair. It'll come on more. When we do the paint. Sorry if I drift off while I'm drawing here or painting. I find it hard to multitask when I'm drawing and talking. Alright. Might even come across. We'll see. Anything can happen once we start adding paint. Okay, so we've got a rough sketch of our face here. I know that right here is going to be a light. I'm going to want to leave light in the forehead. I know that there's going to be lights on the cheeks. You don't have to draw these circles in, but I'm showing just sort of where I know I'm going to be looking out for those lights. Alright, I've got some water over here. And I've got some colors out. I'm using phthalo blue tonight. And I'm going to start with the color right out of the tube, and that's going to be my darkest color. If something happens and it starts to be too light, I'm going to add some of the brown, but for now my goal is to keep this my darkest color because this whole canvas is going to be shades of blue. So a monochromatic scheme. So that being said, I'm going to start with the jawline because we have dark here. And we have dark around her eyes. Now I'm covering everything up because I know where the things are. I can see it a little bit through the paint, but the sketch was mostly just for you to see the structure of the face. I know that the top lip is darker than the bottom. I'll add some shadow there. There's some shadow under here. There's the neck. I'll add some shadow under here. Just filling in the darkest spots of the face now. And I'm not going to try and make it smooth. I want to be able to see my brush strokes. That's just the style I like to do. I'm going to add a little bit of dark under the nose here. And come into the hair a bit. I'm working fairly heavy with the paints because I'm going to mix it on the canvas. So I don't want it to dry before I get there. If at any time you have any questions, feel free to put them into the comments. I'll do my best to check in over there to see, oh, how you doing? I see a couple comments already. Let's see if I can get to them. No. I keep trying to see the comments. Oh, there we go. Oh. You can't, can everybody? Okay, good. I just saw Stephanie said she had no sound. I got scared there for a second. Okay, everyone can hear? Now I'm going to take some of the white and start to add it in, even if it's covering some of the others. So I know there's going to be light on the head, light on the chin here, light on the cheeks. This is going to become a dance of light and dark. She's going to go from not looking like a face to looking like a face to not looking like a face to looking like a face, on and off until we get her just the way we want her. The bridge of the nose, there's usually some light spots on the bumps of the nose. They're circular. Going back into the regular blue. All right, thanks, Megan. So right now I'm using a fairly big brush, just so I have less control so that I can be loose. Come into the corners here, around the eyes, under the eyes. Touching some of the wet paint instead of adding it from my palette. Coming down into the cheeks. Chin again, I might add a little light on one side of the neck. Add some lights around the front of the hair. Might start to fill in some of the background now. If you're working on a canvas, don't forget to paint your edges. I know that this will be eventually covered by hair, but I want to fill it in now, just so I don't have to worry about going around my hair once it's in. I'm not going to do my edges right now as I go, just because I want you to see the process, so I'll probably paint my edges a bit later. Reshaping the face again, coming into the neck, just under the chin. Adding more light to the forehead. Bring a little light to the ball of the nose. If my brush starts to get consistent with one color, like every time I dab it I'm still getting the exact same color that was there before, I'll clean it out, but so far I haven't done that. Coming into the cheeks. When I'm coming now and shaping the face, I'm not going all the way to the darker line that I put in originally. And I'm trying to go in the direction a little bit of the face. When I'm doing the face, I'm going around the cheeks, over the cheeks, under the neck I'm coming down, shaping the neck, around the nose, out. A little white to the chin. So it's starting to happen now that every time I touch, the color is staying pretty close to the one before, so I'm about ready to wash my brush. And I might switch to just a smaller round brush now. Like this. And I'm going to come in and start to put some of the shape in. Remember, the nose is mostly shadow, so I'm letting that blend in, the light that's there, and letting it come out into the cheek. Shaping the face, I know that the temple's here, so I'm changing the shape of that eye. Coming back into the ball of the nose, bringing that up the bridge. Gonna shape it up just a little bit. Put some of the pure color right on my brush. Let me know if I'm being loud enough. Sometimes I tend to start getting quieter as I'm creating and focusing. I'm going to add a hint of the nostrils right here. Shaping into the eyes a little bit now, making them a little smaller, coming up through the nose, over into the eye socket area. This will be the part above the eye and under the eyebrow. Under the eye. So it really is a back and forth. I don't try and work on one particular spot and get it perfect. I tend to jump around on the canvas. A little bit of shadow in between the eyes and a tiny bit of shadow under the ball, behind the ball of the nose. Going to lighten that top lip up just a touch. Got to clean my brush because it's starting to blend again, that it's all the same. So I want that to be darker. And let that shadow shape that lip underneath. Take some of the white and bring it back into the chin for the highlight. Shaping up the lips. As you can see, we can change the shape over and over. Bringing back a little bit of the shadow. Lightening up the bottom lip. Gonna shape this middle part here. And then I'm going to take a little break from this lip here because I'm starting to play with it too much. Just going to spread this shadow out a bit. Okay. Touch up the nose a little. Again, playing with the ball of the nose. A little highlight there. Coming in, I'm just going to put my neck in again. I've kind of lost where it went. There it is. Going to come back under the chin. Sort of bumping up to the line that I made, not touching it too much. Bring that shadow down. My brush is pretty dry, so I'm going to just a tiny bit of water to help it spread. Come in around the face here again, make sure it's still the shape I want. I'm going to come into the eye shape now. There's the corner of the eye. Might be a little hard to see because I'm working almost on the exact same color that was there. It's just the direction of the pink that's showing me what's different. I'm going to use my brush just to go like this and see that the eyes are mostly level or in the same spot. Again, I'm not going for perfect symmetry, just playing around. I'm going to start to mark in where the eyebrow is now. Kind of sitting in between where that shadow starts and stops and merges into the forehead. Again, we can change the shape when we add other layers. I'm going to put the eyelid here. It's a little darker than that skin. Lightening up a little bit, coming under the eye, where the temple is, there'll be shadow. Anywhere where the face recedes, anywhere that the face is going back, it's going to be darker. Anywhere where it comes forward, like the cheeks and the eyes and the lips and the chin, will be brighter. So I'm just adding a little bit more shadow there, shaping the eyes. Going to take a little bit of the white, the blue, put in the whites of the eyes. They're still going to have a bit of blue with them because the whites of the eyes aren't completely white. So that's a start. We've opened up the eyes. Now I'm just taking the shade that I have. It's a little bit lighter than what was on the lips, so I'm coming back down into the lips. Putting a little more darkness there underneath. Adding a bit more white. Shape the chin up again. See up here some of my canvas is still shining through. My brush is getting pretty dry, so I've added a bit of water, dabbed it off on my paper towel, because if it's too wet it's just going to push it around. I'm going to soften some of these edges. add some lights just on the corners of the nose here. This is some highlights. So the nose actually has 3 circles. You have a big one in the center, and then you have 2 on either side. So these are the highlights on those little circles. I'm going to bring this up the bridge and just smooth it out. If your paint is wet enough, you can do that. Okay, I'm just going to hold it up so I can see her from a different perspective here. Okay. So I'm just kind of covering up some of the harsher lines here, but leaving the highlights. Okay, we've got the eye shape coming in, got the lips starting to come in, the nose is starting to take shape. I'm going to switch back to my larger brush, come back into the forehead. I'm going to come up into where I had the hair. So we've changed the shape again where her hair was. Now she's got a bit more forehead. She needs a little more shadow on the sides where the forehead comes back. So on the forehead I'm going up and down over the eyebrows. I've changed the direction of the brush. See here, I'm going to come into the cheeks with that lighter color. Remember to get darker up towards the eye. I didn't want it to look like she had bags under there. The chin where it's light. The other cheek. The bottom lip. And I'm connecting the two. That in between shadow, that medium shadow between the light. Because my paints have been out so long, they're starting to dry a little quicker. So it's a little harder to get the blending that I'd like. If you have a spray bottle, you could use that on your palette to keep your paints moister. Just a little bit of light on that upper eyelid and behind where that circle of her eye is. I'm just going to give a hint of that. Down to her ears got a little lost, so from under her nose, there'd be an ear here. It's going to disappear into her hair eventually. There's an ear here. And come back into the neck. The shadow heavier on one side just to give it some depth. Not because I'm not thinking about where the light's coming from. I guess for the neck, if there was light, it would be over here. The light would be coming from this direction. But that's not consistent to what I did on the face. There we go. Okay, I'm going to come back into the eye now. I'm going to add just a little more white. take a little bit of that, just a little bit lighter, come on top of the eye. Using the same brush, I'm going to underline some of those lines again, tighten it up. Shape of the eye. Just going to blend that a little bit because it was a little darker than I want it. Coming right up to the crease of the nose. Just going to add the crease for the lid. Redefine my eyebrows. Maybe make the nostril just a little bit darker. There's teeny tiny flattened ones. Come over the line of the lip again, so anywhere where there's a dark line, I'm just redefining it. Come around the edge of this mouth a little lighter. Fix the shape up a little bit. Filling it in again. Take a little bit of the white. Give her some sparkle on her bottom lip here. The light's hitting it. I'm going to redefine that line again once it dries. Okay, I think the face is mostly done except for any little things and the lips there to touch up at the end, and the pupils we'll get at the end. I'm going to take that big brush again, the bigger square one. I'm going to start to put in some of the hair. I'm going to let her have like a curl here. And then the hair on this side is going to come this way. It's going to be flipping over We're gonna have another windy day. My girls tend to get caught in a lot of windy days. Hair actually comes from in front of the ear a little bit. So we're just going to see a little bit of her ear. It's going to come off the canvas a little bit. And we're going to start to let the strands whip across here. This come across and down maybe. Now remember, the head actually comes way up towards the top here, so our hair is going to be covering everywhere. And the hair down here is coming out from behind the neck. So I'm going to get into the neck here and let that define it. If you're doing your edges at the same time, you can go right over. Okay, I'm going to put some more blue down, and then I'm going to start to add some of the lights. I'll take a little dab of the white, and I put a bit of highlight here in the front. Hair tends to get darker as it goes back. I'll let some of her strands come through here. Mixing it with the dark again. This hair is in front of the other hair, so I'm going to make it just a little bit lighter. back to this side now because I want this side done before I bring the locks across. So I'm not really thinking about where these strands are other than the direction that they're blowing. There, I think I'm done with the hair. I'm going to come back into the eyes now that they've dried a little bit more. I'm holding my hand because it's wet here. I'm using my pinky as a stabilizer. Now I am going to take just a little bit of that brown. You don't have to though, it's just that the blue is already so dark, but I want it to be a little darker. So we're making a shade. I'm going to come around and fix these edges. I'm also going to use that where the pupil is, because the brown tint makes the blue darker. I'm going to take a little bit of the white, just a hint of it. I'm going to lighten up just the inner parts of the iris, more down underneath the pupil than the top, because our eyelid tends to give a shadow there. I might take some of that dark color that I made and come into the line of the lip. I'll touch in the nostrils, maybe a little bit on the lid, just to give the idea of eyelashes. I think I want the irises to be just a little bit lighter. So again, I'm coming into the bottom. Just giving them a little bit of light. Going to see how light that was on the lips, but it's a little too light. So I'm just going to add a little highlight on here. And then I'm just going to add a highlight to the corner of the eyes. Not pure white, but pretty close. There. Just going to put a little bit down here on the bottom lip. Darken it a little bit and put a little on the top. There. And I think she's done. And for me, all that's left is to paint my edges and sign her. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's art date. This one was a little longer than usual, I think. I don't know. I can't remember how long we usually go for. Feels like it's been forever. I hope that you're doing well. If you have any questions about this process, let me know. I'll be checking in to see how you're doing. I'd love to see what you create, whether you're using paints or watercolor, acrylics or watercolors, or if you're trying it with markers or crayons or pencil crayons. It'd be really neat to see how it turns out. Please feel free to put a picture down below. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, whether you did it along with me or watched it later, or whether you just wanted to hang out. So I'll see you next time, and yeah, be inspired.